Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital at MC Show Digital, talking all things New York football. Today, time to talk New York Jets. You see the green around us? Going to bring in our Jets insider in just a moment. We are presented by Northeast Roofing Professionals, NERPCNY.com. Without further ado, let's bring him in from the Jake Asman Show in ESPN New York. And he's hanging out at Nick Parades and everything. We'll get to that at the end of this interview. We got to talk about that parade. It's the one, the only Jake Asman. What's up, Jake? How are you?
World champs, Jim. World champions. Oh, does it feel so sweet?
Well, look, I'm a bit more of a good news guy than a bad news guy. So I'm going to let Boy Green handle the first question here in terms of the bad news. What's going on with your quarterback? Go ahead, Boy Green. Lay out the scene. I want to get Jake's take on this whole thing.
Yeah, Jake, I will say this for all of us, not that this needs to be said, but none of us are lawyers or police officers or anything of that nature. But Geno Smith, there was a investigation into a incident that took place with Geno Smith. Police officers were called to his house over reportedly an ex-girlfriend accusing him of a variety of things. Police officers showed up. They didn't arrest anybody. No criminal charges have been filed. It appeared the case was closed over the weekend. However, the case has been reopened as they're investigating and making sure they didn't miss anything with this situation. Again, I established that none of us are any of these things, but Jake, with training camp a month away from tomorrow, when rookies report, veterans report a few days later, the first practice will be on the 29th of July. Is any of this a distraction at this point or not?
Not to this point, Paul, but it could be. I mean, let's be honest. These are serious allegations that are being levied here. That said, innocent till proven guilty. He wasn't charged with anything, but it's an open investigation. So it could be a huge distraction. Obviously, if he's charged, then you start talking about, forget just a distraction. You worry, okay, is he going to serve any time? Is the NFL going to get involved with a possible suspension? Where do we go from there? We're not there yet, so it's very early, obviously, but it's at least a distraction, and it's notable, I think, maybe more so now than it would be when we got the training camp, because there's nothing going on in the NFL right now. So this has to be one of the stories that, not even locally, but even nationally, I'm sure people will discuss, because there's just not a ton of football things happening.
Yeah, so it's Jake, a little nerve-wracking to me, Jake, just that, it looked like the case was closed, or the police came and they investigated, then they talked to the parties involved, including Geno, and they walked away and said, okay, no charges, and yeah, this is a there's nothing going on here that's wrong with the law. And now all of a sudden we get to Tuesday, yesterday, and suddenly, hey, we're still looking at some things, and there was some evidence of something, it sounds like, given back to police on Monday night that now has them going, let's make sure that we cover all our bases before we say case closed on this one. So it's a little unnerving, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, it went from case closed, or, just, no arrests were made. And then, the next day it's being assigned to a detective. It's now an active investigation. So I don't know what specifically changed there. We haven't gotten any clarity on that, but I think this is going to be a thing for at least the next couple of weeks for sure. I don't think this is just going to magically just go away one day.
So, Jake, with all this going on, the Jets were already investigating the veteran quarterback market. They kicked the tires on Russell Wilson before he decided to move on with his career, and they had been doing some homework on it before any of this Geno Smith stuff came up. Even if Geno Smith is convicted of anything or charged with anything, that's one thing. But he could also be charged of nothing in the NFL's personal conduct policy. They could still suspend him potentially if they saw a reason to. Should the Jets go get a quarterback with all of this uncertainty, since they were thinking about it anyway?
I think you have to definitely keep your eyes on the veteran quarterback market. Now, look, if Geno is actually charged with something and his availability for the season becomes in question, I don't know if there's a veteran free agent you could sign that's going to make a huge difference. I think you're calling like the Cardinals and being like, hey, what's the deal with Jacoby Brissett? You're trying to call the Raiders about Kirk Cousins. You're trying to get like an actual veteran who could start for you. I mean, Cooper Rush is out there. I don't know if he's going to save the day. You have Zappy, you have Klubnik, Brady Cook, I guess, is still on the roster. They're going to have to add someone, but they might have just added someone anyway, even before this Geno thing came to light. But if he's actually charged with a crime here and his availability for the season all of a sudden becomes a question mark, that's when I think, forget the veteran market, you might need to make a trade for a veteran.
Well, I'll tell you a guy that isn't going to be joining the Jets, and that's Brendan Sorsby. So in the As the World Turns soap opera continues, Jake, the NFL comes up with an interesting twist in this whole thing. Hey, we're just not going to have ourselves a supplemental draft this year. And I think there was some comments also, or something put out there, that they didn't think that the paperwork submitted by Sorsby was complete in some way, or didn't include things that it needed to include. So give me your take on this latest saga, but it appears pretty clear. I know this is back in the courts again, and Sorsby has lawyers, and they're lawyering up to find out whether there's any way this can be reversed. But at this point, it doesn't look like there's going to be a supplemental draft. Therefore, Jets no longer in the market for Brendan Sorsby, if they ever were.
Odd that it played out this way, because I never could recall the NFL denying a player a right to the supplemental draft. Like, that was not even like an option that was discussed for anyone who's been following the situation. It was always assumed if he can't play college football, well, then he'll just go to the supplemental draft. So the fact the NFL said, nope, we're not doing it, that to me was a big surprise. I think what happened here is they were going to suspend him for the year if he had been eligible for the supplemental draft. So rather than do that, I think this is their way of suspending him without actually having to suspend him. They say, we're not doing the supplemental draft. They come up with whatever reason they want for it, and they have every right to. If you just read the fine print in the CBA, it says it's on the NFL's discretion whether or not to hold the supplemental draft. So he could try and sue the league all he wants. Oh, you got to let me in. You got to do the draft. I don't think he's going to win. The NFL obviously has great lawyers, and they knew what they were looking at before they made this decision. But I think this is their way of suspending him without actually having to suspend him, and make a big example out of him, that for all future athletes, don't bet. It's like the cardinal sin in sports. The integrity of the sport is the number one thing these leagues care the most about. And if they let Sorsby in, they felt like they'd be jeopardizing that in some way. So the NFL used him as an example, is my theory on all of it.
So with this result, Jake, is this good news or bad news for the Jets? Because the Jet fans that wanted Sorsby were like, oh, cool, you could get your quarterback now, 3 first-round picks to use on other things. That'd be great. You don't have to trade up all your picks. You can use them for other things. Other people said, yikes, this is an incredibly risky situation. This could blow up your entire plan that seemingly was set up for 2027. So you could probably interpret it a lot of different ways, but how do you interpret it, Jake? Is this good news or bad news, this latest ruling on the Brendan Sorsby situation as it pertains to the Jets?
I think it's tough to weigh in good or bad. I think it's neutral at this point, because we don't know if the Jets actually liked him, right? Like, if they really liked him, then I guess you could say, well, it's bad news. If they were, we like him, but we don't love him, we were only going to use a 4th or a 5th on him, then like, all right, like, you potentially lost out on that opportunity. I mean, what if another team really liked Sorsby and they got him, and that took him out of the market for a quarterback next year? Then maybe it would have been good news for the Jets, even if they didn't get Sorsby, but that team doesn't need a QB, and the Jets then are competing with less teams for some of these top QBs next year. So you could kind of spin it positive or negative however you want. I'm just going to say it's kind of neutral right now, because unless Darren Muji speaks honestly on the record, hey, we love this guy, we were going to take him, I think it's tough to really get an idea on whether or not it's a good or a bad thing for the Jets that have played out this way. I think for me as a fan, I'm fine with it, because I didn't really want him, and I'm fully content with just waiting till 27 to get our quarterback in the first round.
And what does it mean for Cade Klubnik? Now, he gets a legitimate year here, theoretically, as the backup, and a chance to show the Jets that he actually might have the stuff. Give me your thoughts on how this affects him.
He's the real winner in this, right? I mean, clearly, if the Jets added Sorsby, he's competing for reps with Brendan Sorsby. Now Klubnik is the only guy they added to that room in the draft. He's going to get the opportunity, I still think, assuming Geno's not charged with anything, the chance to compete to be the QB too with Bailey Zappi. So honestly, if you want to say someone won in all this associated with the Jets, I think you can make the case Cade Klubnik's the biggest winner from the NFL denying Sorsby to the supplemental draft,
which would make a lot of sense for him. Again, we're good Jake Asman of the Jake Asman Show, ESPN New York, and all the rest here on the program. So Cade Klubnik, the rookie quarterback for the New York Jets, a potential winner. Now, this is something, Jake, you probably would necessarily want more time on for me to ask you this question. But come on, you're Jake Asman. I'm sure you can figure it out. And it's this. If I asked you to power rank the AFC East, Jets, Dolphins, Bills, and Patriots, and I'm not just talking about power rank the teams. Where do they sit, 1st through 4th? I'm talking about everything from quarterbacks to running backs to wide receivers, coaching, offense line. You can pick anything you want. Do you think the Jets are number one in anything in the AFC East compared to their compadres in the AFC East?
It's a great question. Could you argue the Jets have the best skill players of any of the teams? Like total?
You definitely.
If you count Brees and tight ends and receivers, is that a crazy take? I mean, the Pats have obviously added, A.J. Brown. They got 2 really good running backs, but
Romeo Doubs, sure.
Yeah, I think Garrett Wilson and company could be better than them. The Bills, okay. I mean, it's a lot of Josh Allen being Josh Allen, and obviously James Cook's great, but they got 2 good tight ends. They got some solid receivers, but they didn't have a 1,000-yard guy last year. I don't know. That's the first thing I thought of. I think the Jets' offensive line compares favorably to the other teams in the division as well. But the problem with the Jets is quarterback and coach, and that's the NFL. And the 2 biggest question marks I think you have about the Jets is obviously Aaron Glenn, and then, with this Geno situation now and him coming off a bad year anyway with the Raiders, what does he have left? What version of Geno Smith are you getting? So that's to me the weakness. The actual roster, though, for the Jets, I think we've talked about this. I don't think this is an awful roster. Like, I'm not telling you they're a playoff team, but I don't think they should be the worst team in the league kind of bad, like many think they will be.
Minicamp is over, Jake, but an interesting end to minicamp, to say the least. Aaron Glenn, with all the problems from last year and everything, gets to the final day and he says, "Hey, fellas, we're good. Go home. Have a nice summer. See you for training camp." Listen, I don't know that in the grand scheme of things, canceling the last day of mini camp and giving the players a day off is a tragic thing. But from an optics standpoint, and Aaron Glenn, it's a disaster. Give me your take on him giving the team essentially the last day off. Does it matter? Does it not matter? What's your thoughts?
I didn't love it. I know this is like a common trend around the league, but he also made it clear at the beginning of the week that they were going to practice that day, and they didn't. I think when you're coming off a 3-win season, you should take advantage of every practice opportunity you get. That said, I can't be that upset about it. I can't fake the outrage. I didn't love it, but it is what it is. I think when you're as bad as the Jets were last year, you should take the opportunity to practice the extra day when you have it. But this is a trend around the league. And to those saying, "Oh, it doesn't matter," then why do they do it? If it doesn't matter, why do they do this every year? That'd be my question.
Do you think that if the Jets get off to if they get off to a good start, they're like, "See, it didn't matter." If they get off to a bad start, look at AG. One of the very many mistakes he made was canceling practice. See, are people going to be pointing back at that?
I don't think people will remember, to be honest. I think the day that they canceled it was the day of the Knicks championship parade. So I know you're not a Knicks fan, Paul, but I don't think anyone in the New York area that follows the Jets and the Knicks gave a flying you-know-what about Aaron Glenn canceling a minicamp practice, to be totally transparent with you.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, although I do think this, Jake, I mean, just in a grander sense, the Giants and their issues, and I think one of the issues that inevitably comes out of Brian Daboll's tenure as the head coach is that he was soft. That's what I keep hearing over and over and over again. And John Harbaugh is not soft. He is, if anything, practices guys, some people would say, too hard, that he's too difficult at times, that he has this nature of we get after it every single day, 110%, yada, yada, yada. And here's Aaron Glenn, who's trying to kind of turn over a new leaf. And dare I say, it's a little soft, to give that final day off and go, "Hey, fellas, go enjoy the parade." We've done enough work. It's all good. I don't know. It has a little of that Dable-esque feeling that I don't like, Jake. So I don't think it's going to matter in the grand scheme of things. But I think, again, from an optics standpoint, it just scares me a little bit.
But let me jump in to say this, Jake, because I don't know if you saw this. I only saw this because we did a Giants interview this week. So I was going over Giants notes about it. So apparently Harbaugh on his final day of minicamp is they didn't cancel it, but he just reduced the intensity to nothing. He called it a mental workout. And they just did a lighter practice than normal. It wasn't as long as normal. And they just sort of ran around. And most of them are running around in shells anyway. It's not full pads. But he just did a lighter practice that was mental, and then they went off for break. So he had a practice, but it was just minuscule. I guess that's better than doing nothing then with AG.
He could have done anything. And at the end of the day, I don't think it matters all that much, but it was just a thing. I'm just like, really? I don't know. I don't think it's the best look, but if I say that I'm an Aaron Glenn hater and how dare I, it's just like win games and none of it matters. You lose, everything you do is going to be questioned. That's how it goes when you go 3-14 and look inept for most of your first year at the helm.
We're inside the Jets. It's the Manchild Show with Boyd Green Digital at MC Show Digital. We are presented by our friends at Northeast Roofing Professionals, NERPCNY.com. You see our YouTube link right there. Please subscribe to the channel if you're not already a subscriber, and certainly hit that like button if you like what you're hearing. Take 30 seconds here from our friends at Northeast. We're back more with Jake Asman right after this.
Finding the right local roofing company can be tricky. You don't want to hire the wrong roofers, or you could end up spending a fortune on repairs. The pros at Northeast Roofing Professionals can ensure your home is protected by a strong installation sturdy roof. Locally owned and operated, over 30 years experience, free estimates, and competitively priced. Don't settle for an inexperienced roofing contractor. Turn to Northeast Roofing Professionals. Discounts for military and first responders. Reach out and let them put a sturdy roof over your head. NERPCNY.com. NERPCNY.com.
Manchild Show with Board Game Digital, Inside the Jets with Jake Asman, our Jets insider from the Jake Asman Show on ESPN New York. Jake, let me ask you a kind of a wider ranging question here about, everything's a way too early prediction right now. But we've talked a lot about Frank Reich and the fact that the Jets now have a new OC. It's a guy that has head coaching experience. He has OC experience as well. What do you think this Jets offense is going to look like this upcoming season under Frank Reich? What could you tell us at this point that we've seen through OTAs and minicamp that give us indicators of what it's going to be like?
Well, I think this is a low bar, but I think they're going to be a professional offense. Like, we're not going to question the play calling. We're not going to question some of the personnel usage as much as we did last year. I think they'll have a game plan specific game plan, for lack of a better way to describe it, depending on the opponent each week. I think Frank Reich's, he's very confident up there when he speaks. He's an adult in the room. I think we'll see a lot of 2 tight end sets. I mean, they took Kenyon Sadiq for a reason. You see all the leaked video the Jets have posted since that pick. It's Frank Reich as the major catalyst as to why they made that selection. So he clearly has a plan in mind to use Sadiq and Mason Taylor on the field together. I think we'll see 12 personnel to the extreme if that is the case. I think Garrett Wilson's going to get the ball a lot. There's been complaints the last several years where we feel like Garrett's the Jets' best player. They don't get him the ball enough. I think he's just going to be peppered with targets in this offense. And look, I don't want to sit here and say Frank Reich is going to reinvent the wheel here, and he's going to be like Kyle Shanahan or Sean McVay, but he's going to be, I think, a big upgrade from what we saw last year. And I didn't love getting rid of Engstrand because I thought a lot of the issues last year were Justin Fields related, but the more I take a step back and reflect, I think it needed to be done given Glenn's trying to save his job, and they just couldn't risk it again with Engstrand. They got a true professional in Frank Reich.
Jake, your teammate on the Jets Collective podcast with yourself, Rich Cimini, Brandon Tierney, BT Unleashed. It's cool that ESPN is doing this with all their NFL Nation reporters, each of their reporters that covers the 32 teams. They give a prompt and they get an update from all of them. And on today's prompt was who's the next extension guy that your team that you cover is going to extend? The Jets have obviously extended Breece Hall this offseason, Joe Tippmann. Rich Cimini says it's over. There is no more extensions to come. He mentioned Will McDonald just because technically he was extended with the 5th-year option earlier this offseason. So I ask you, do you agree with your Rich Cimini Jets Collective teammate? Are the Jets done? Is Darren Muji done handing out extensions until next offseason?
It kind of feels like it, right? I mean, maybe they do something with Harrison Phillips. You could lower his cap number and guarantee his salary for this year and next. I could see something like that. I think the next big contract extensions that we're talking about, though, are McDonald, Olu Fashanu. I think that's kind of where it's crazy to say that with Olu already, but he'll be going into his 4th year, and you'll have the 5th-year option conversation with him, and do you extend him early? I think that's kind of where the extensions lie. I give Muji a lot of credit. I mean, Breece done months before the franchise tag deadline. Joe Tippmann, they didn't have to do it. I thought it was smart to do it because he's going to be a free agent. He's a good player. You got that done. I think that contract will age really well. The Jets have been really good with these proactive extensions. So I have full faith in Muji to identify what needs to be done if they want to extend another player.
Now, Jake, any hot takes out of minicamp / OTAs? Is there any player that popped in your mind, some surprise that came to the table at all?
A.D. Mitchell. Now, again, I'm not there, but anyone I've had on my show, I do the Jets Collective podcast that Boy Green just mentioned with Cimini. We've talked a lot of A.D. Mitchell this spring. It feels like every practice that the media has been at, he's made plays. You just look at how he gets open and his speed and his skill set and just getting an opportunity to play with the Jets. And the fact that Geno could throw the ball downfield, he's going to take chances. He could, he's still got a cannon for an arm. You could see those two, being a perfect fit for the playing styles each of them presents. I'm excited to see what A.D. Mitchell could do in this offense. I don't know if it's a hot take, but he was a guy that we didn't talk a lot about because it was all about Sadiq, and they even drafted a first-round receiver and Omar Cooper, and Garrett's coming back, and Mason Taylor in year 2. Meanwhile, A.D. Mitchell did make some plays last year in the 8 games he was with the Jets. He got open a lot. I remember against Christian Gonzalez in that Thursday night game, and they just couldn't get him the ball. So I'm excited to see what he could do with a professional OC, and at least we think it will be Geno week one and on, a professional quarterback throwing on the ball.
Jake, we mentioned some of your teammates, right? Brandon Tierney, BT Unleashed, Rich Cimini of ESPN, but perhaps your new favorite teammate, maybe Wayne Corbett, baby.
Yeah, baby. He's your team too. Gangrene Beach Club. He's going to be there.
Okay, so give us the latest. If people are just hearing about this awesome event, Gangrene Beach Club, for the very first time, and Wayne Corbett, a Jets legend, being there, give us the latest scoop that you can and all the details about this event coming up here very shortly.
Yeah, so, I mean, long story short, Jet fans all gathering at an awesome spot in Atlantic City. HQ2 is the name of the beach club we're going to be at. It's inside the Ocean Casino Resort. Again, this is in Atlantic City. Tickets are $25. You hang out with myself, Boy Green, name a Jet reporter, name a super fan like Fireman Ed, content creator, all in one spot. We'll have our own area by the pool hanging out. There'll be drinks, there'll be food, gangrenebeachclub.com. And as you see on the screen, the great Wayne Corbett is our special guest of honor. He'll be hanging out with fans, taking pictures. So it's going to be a blast, man. I mean, the tickets are still available. Again, it's just $25 to get in. You don't need to be staying at Ocean's Casino to attend the event. You could show up for the day. You could stay at a different property. Starts at noon, goes till 6. It's going to be an absolute blast. We're going to have fun all day long, and I'm so pumped that Wayne's going to be a part of it.
Yeah, there you go. Wayne Corbett, baby. That is freaking sweet. And
Sounds
then also
like should be beach weather by July 11th. That's for sure.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And the last one before I let you guys go off on your prairie and talking about all the stuff you guys are going to talk about. I know what's coming. Before that, one more plug, the Jets Collective podcast. Jake, it's gotten a nice, rev of the engine from fans. Fans have really dug the combination of longtime radio guy, which is also obviously water. Jake, you've been swimming in for a long time with Brandon. And then Rich, you have this reporter that's been covering the team for nearly 4 decades, for Pete's sake. What's it been like? Have you guys been sort of getting in a rhythm now that you've been doing it for so long? And obviously, I'm sure you guys are all excited for the season to come.
Yeah, the growth of the show has been cool to see so far. It will help if the Jets are decent this year. But once we get to the actual season and you got me losing my mind and BT losing his mind on things that happen, and then Rich being connected to the organization, being there every day, I think it's going to be a very fun show for all Jet fans. Hopefully it's fun because we're talking about, winning. And then just, I think Rich is as plugged in as anyone that's covered this team ever. He's the longest guy that's ever been on the Jet piece. So to add his voice to 2 passionate Jet fans like myself and BT from different generations, have different opinions on certain things, I think it's been a fun show to be part of. And again, the growth has been cool to see without a whole lot happening to this point. Now we just need the Jets to be relevant and hopefully have a fun year because, God, this fan base deserve it.
Mm-hmm. Well, talk about losing your mind. I know you were at the Knicks parade. I saw you were putting a gathering together. I was like, man, you got to probably get there at 5 a.m. just to get in. And they shut it down a lot earlier. They were telling people get there 2 to 3 hours. Like, make it 4 to 5 hours, man. 2 to 3 hours. Forget it. These people are nuts. And they shut it down. People weren't even able to get in. Some people that had intended to go. So I'm glad I didn't make the trip, although I'm not glad that I missed the parade. But obviously I watched every waking moment of it. But give us the bird's eye view. Give us the on the ground viewpoint about how that was like, what New Yorkers were like. It's been 53 years, for crying out loud, man. We're still all wearing our Knicks gear loud and proud. It probably will be for the next 12 months at least. Go ahead, buddy. Yeah, I see it.
That's right.
Yeah, there you go.
The champ shirt right there, baby.
You know what? It was just surreal to be at a parade for the Knicks. That's what I kept thinking. I'm like, wow, we're really here for the Knicks. Like the New York Knicks won an NBA championship. So it was surreal. It was just like a sea of fans everywhere you looked, orange and blue, everyone just excited to be there, be a part of it. Even if you didn't have a view of the parade, people were just basking in the glory that is the Knicks. All the bars throughout Manhattan had the parade on, and people were showing up there during it or after it. I know I went over to American Whiskey and saw Boy Green's good friend, our guy Woody, was in town, so hung out with him and a bunch of Knicks fans. And it was just a great day. The weather was perfect, and I got very lucky that we schemed away into the parade and we got an amazing view of the whole thing. So I'll never forget it. Grateful to be there. And again, just talking about the Knicks being NBA champions, it is surreal. I don't know if it will fully hit in until maybe I see the banner up there at the Garden when I go to a game next season and go, wow, they really did win the whole thing.
Yeah, many
So
years
now,
ago,
Jake,
Jake.
does it?
Go ahead. I'm
Yeah, go
sorry.
ahead.
Go ahead, BB.
Yeah, I
No,
was
no,
just
go
gonna
ahead.
say, Jake, like, does it not matter now? Now that they won the championship, they could like lose every season for as long as you stay on planet Earth. You're like, I don't care, champions, 2025, 2026, suck it, baby. I've got it forever.
It does ease the sting if, any of my teams, like, not like, obviously I don't want the Knicks to just be awful again. And I think they're going to be good again next year with the core
Yeah,
they
right.
have. But like, again, like knowing I've now seen them win, like, yeah, it does change you a lot as a fan, especially if you've never seen your team win a title before, which is most Knicks fans, who are, under the age of like 45, like you don't have any memory of the 73 championship team. So it's, or forget under, if you're under like 60, you don't have any memories of the championship team if you really think about it. So it's surreal, man. It's awesome. And I'm a Yankee fan as well. I've seen them win in 2009. I don't really count the late 90s because I was 5, 6, 7 years old during all that. So it's the first time for me with one of my teams since the '09 Yankees. And I know there's plenty of Met, Jet, Islander fans, Met, Jet fans who have seen absolutely no winning whatsoever. And this was their first title that they've been able to celebrate. So that's really cool as well.
Yeah, I was going to say years ago, Jake, when I was a troublemaker, back in my youth, I went out on a trip to California, and there was a movie being filmed. Of course, I did all the sites, first time out there in LA area. This was in LA. And so I'm on Rodeo Drive, I got to check that out, right? I got to see what that's all about. So I'm down on Rodeo Drive, and they've got a lot of Rodeo Drive blocked off with barricades and stuff. They're filming a movie. The movie's name. So I say, what movie are they filming? What's going on here? They say, oh, it's a movie called 3000. It's got Richard Gere and Julia Roberts in it. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, oh, cool. So we're just hanging, we're there, and then I'm like, hey, nobody's really like around here. Like, why don't we just like walk onto the set, and like just like this. They were doing like street scenes, and people were walking up and down the streets. I didn't see any sign of Gere or Roberts. So I was like, so me and my two buddies were just like, let's go. All right, so we just hop under the barricade and we just walk down the street like we're part of the movie. We're walking around the set of what was Pretty Woman. They were going to call it 3000. Remember, he gives her $3,000 for her, hanging out with him all this time. They changed the name obviously to Pretty Woman, so it was the set of Pretty Woman. And then eventually we got some security guy was like, who are you guys? We're like, what do you mean? We're shopping on Rodeo Drive. Like, this is a movie set, you shouldn't be here. We're like, oh, we didn't know. Like, didn't you see the barricades? Oh no, in New York City we see these things all the time. You just go right around them. That's dumb. We wandered onto the movie set of Pretty Woman. I don't think we made the film, but
you didn't. Oh, that's too
cool.
bad.
But it sounds like a little escapades going down there at the Nick Parade as well for you guys. So good for you, man. I like it. All right, that's all I got today, Jake. Thank you, my friend. Always good to talk to you. And we'll catch up again next week.
Who knows what controversial Jet thing will happen next? Things are just too quiet. So, they'll give us something for July till training camp. They always do.